morning. It is Wednesday, my dudes, and you are watching The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. Jesse Cofield to my left, Emerson Latzia to her right, and we have so much coming up in this show today.
It's a very special day, okay, because it is Emerson Latzia's birthday.
Oh, yeah!
I know you guys did not know that. He doesn't make a big deal out of his birthday or anything.
Nope.
He is 39 today.
You can tweet me, happy birthday,
Yeah.
or find me on Instagram, Facebook, hardly ever on there anymore.
Toss him a follow. But we're going to talk about hoops, golf, hockey, gojo, baseball on this very special day.
My sister's calling me.
Oh, great. Yeah, maybe you can talk to her later. Let's talk to our baseball dudes. Let's bring them in right now. Gary and Thorne, Tanner Kern, and RotoWire's Eric Halterman. They are here to talk about all of the MLB action this afternoon, starting at 12:35 with A's, Yankees, Rockies, Pirates. So, Gary, what early game bets do you think are worth taking a look at?
I would be looking at the Nationals today, which is not something I generally do. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit by not just taking them on the money line at plus 135 because I do not trust their bullpen, but I will take the Nationals money line for the first 5 innings at plus 130. I just think this is a very rare occasion where the pitching matchup is heavily lopsided in the Nationals' favor. Josiah Gray, if you take out his first terrible start of the season, he has a 2.16 ERA across his last 6 outings. This is someone who had a lot of prospect pedigree when he was traded to the Nationals. Seems like he might have finally figured out the home run problem that's been plaguing him the last 2 seasons, and that would make Josiah Gray a really good pitcher. On the other side of this matchup, you have Sean Manaea, who just looks cooked. He's got an 8.05 expected ERA so far this season. Right-handed batters are absolutely pummeling this guy. The velocity is way down from where it's been in the past. I just don't really like what we've seen from Manaea. And the Nationals have been sneakily good against left-handed pitching so far this season. They actually are batting .289 against southpaws. It's the 5th best average in all of baseball. So I think the Nationals can at the very least get out to a lead early and definitely hit that first 5 money line.
All right, Tanner, which early bet games are you looking at for a good bet here?
So I love the New York Yankees today, but they are juiced on the money line, obviously. I would play them run line, but I'm going to take a different approach here. I'm going to go Kyle Muller, who's starting for the Oakland Athletics, under 15.5 outs recorded. He's 1-2 this season, 6.6 ERA, 1.94 WHIP. Those are very bad numbers. He's led 48 hits in 34 innings as well. I don't know. These might be good for the Oakland Athletics, but they're simply not good for Major League Baseball. Doesn't have an overpowering fastball. His breaking ball doesn't really break that much, and he's got a minus .4 WAR this season. He's only gone over 15.5 outs twice in 7 starts, so the hit rate is high for the under. And when you look at the New York Yankees right now, they had Aaron Judge return to the lineup, which is going to be huge for them. Yesterday, they scored 10 runs off the Oakland Athletics. I see Muller going about 5 innings today and calling it a day, as he's done most of the season.
All right, Eric, what do you think? A lot of action this afternoon. What early game bets do you think are worth taking a look at?
Yeah, I'll go with one adjacent to Tanner's. I'm going to go with the over in that Yankees-A's game for similar reasons. I actually wouldn't say I love the Yankees today. I wanted to bet the A's. If it was a pitcher who wasn't Kyle Muller, I might have done it because on the Yankees side, Johnny Brito, ERA over 6, ERA estimator sitting in the mid-5s. That's right where Kyle Muller is these days. Neither pitcher has looked good at all this season. Both pitchers, double-digit walk rates and very low strikeout rates. Muller's is even worse, but you're splitting hairs at a certain point. Neither of these guys has looked even like a quality 5th starter. And both offenses are actually similar. If you look at Team WRC+, the A's are actually slightly better. They're ranked 17th. The Yankees are ranked 18th. Obviously, getting Aaron Judge back, we expect the Yankees to be a whole lot better than 18th. But it's the fact that the A's have actually been capable that gives me confidence in this game hitting even a pretty high over-under at 9.5. Because, again, the A's, terrible team, but that's actually tilted much more towards the pitching side. At least so far, the offense has been competent enough to hit some overs.
All right, Eric, there are more day games than night games. We do have some later games to get into, including Rays and the Orioles. Rays are favored there on the money line, despite rolling out Beeks in a bullpen game here. What money line bet looks good to you on tonight's board?
Yeah, I'll give you one, Emerson, to celebrate your 21st birthday here. I hope you enjoy your first legal drink. I'll go with
Thank
your
you.
Red Sox, plus
Ooh.
135 at Atlanta. Brian Bayo on the mound for Boston tonight, 5.71 ERA in his 4 starts. But if you ignore his first one in the year, which maybe you don't want to do, given that's a quarter of his start so far, but it was his first start back from a forearm injury. Toss that one out. He's at a 3.68 ERA on the season, even if you include the bad one. About a league average strikeout rate, slightly better than average walk rate, and a lot of ground balls. That's a perfectly fine pitcher, and the ERA estimators have him in the mid to high threes. Jared Schuster likely to get the call on the other side for Atlanta, not confirmed as of this morning, but he's lined up in the minors to take Max Fried's spot. In 2 major league starts this season, Schuster 5 strikeouts against 9 walks and an 8.31 ERA. In the minors, 2.37 ERA, but a 5.12 FIP and a walk rate of 16%. So I like the Red Sox here against Jared Schuster. I think that matters more than the fact that Atlanta has quite a good lineup themselves.
Sox aiming for some revenge after last night's loss. Tanner, what are you looking at on tonight's board?
So I'm going to be on the Twins money line against the Padres. You would think the Padres would be favored in this spot after a big 6-1 win yesterday, but they don't hit righties really well, and that is why Minnesota's favored in this spot. They actually have the worst batting average against righties in Major League Baseball at 216. They can still hit homers, which is a concern here, but they're not spraying the ball around the yard, which takes an element away of their game. Pablo Lopez is going to be on the mound for the Twins, 1.09 whip in 43 innings, only allowed 37 hits, and he struck out 54 batters. This is a pitcher that can dissect you, and I think we're going to see that tonight with the Padres. Seth Lugo is going to take the ball for San Diego. He's been good, but not nearly comparable to Lopez. 1.34 whip, 37 hits allowed over that span, so just about a hit over per inning. Limits walks and homers, but I do expect the Twins to bounce back. They had a rough 7th inning yesterday where they made 3 errors, and that really was the result that gave the Padres the win. So I think we see a Minnesota bounce back, and they get the job done.
All right, Gary Bear, give me your money line bet on the late slate.
Well, unlike this being Emerson's 21st birthday, Justin Steele is the real deal. Justin Steele is great. I don't know, man. Like, I know some of the ERA estimators are much higher than his ERA, but the thing about that is when your ERA is 1.41, I don't care that your ERA estimators are double that, because an expected ERA of 2.99 is still elite. Justin Steele's been fantastic so far this season, has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of his 7 starts, and that streak actually goes back a lot farther if you dip into 2022 data in the second half of last season. Going up against Montgomery and the Cardinals tonight. Cardinals actually on a winning streak. Congratulations to the St. Louis Cardinals. But the Cubs hit left-handed pitching really, really well. They have a 115 WRC plus within the split so far this season. That is the 5th best mark in all of baseball. Cubs are at home. Cardinals have not been good this season. I think minus 110 is a little insulting to Justin Steele and how well he's pitched so far.
All right, Gary, and only about 4 games on tonight's DFS slate. So who can you add to your lineup to give you a little bit of leverage in your contest, perhaps?
So Tanner mentioned this game earlier. I like both sides of this pitching matchup from a DFS perspective between the Twins and the Padres. And I think Seth Lugo is a really nice value at 8,200. He's pitched well so far this season. He's not Pablo Lopez. However, no one in this game can hit. Tanner mentioned that the Padres cannot hit right-handed pitching. The Twins can't hit anybody. As a team, they are batting below the Mendoza line the last 2 weeks. 189. That's translated to an 85 WRC plus because they have some power and they take some walks, but still, this is not a good offensive team, much like most of the rosters in the American League Central. Seth Lugo has had at least 5 strikeouts in 5 of his 6 games so far this season. I think he can go even higher than that, considering across the last 2 weeks, the Twins also have the 2nd highest strikeout rate in baseball at 26.9%. This just seems like a pitcher's paradise in a game that's probably going to hit the under 8.5 if you also want to invest in that.
Tanner, what do you think? Are you looking at someone in that Twins-Padres game as well?
So I'm actually going to be in the Royals-White Sox game. I'm going to ride with Bobby Witt Jr. It's gone over 16 fantasy points in 4 of his past 7 games. Also has a 10-point performance in that stretch, so really delivering. He's done 2 10-plus fantasy point performances against the White Sox in the series so far out of the 3 games. It's priced at $5,000, which I believe is a steal for his production. He's 8 of 24 in his past 5 games, 4 runs, a triple, and a home run. And he's going to face Lance Lynn, who has not been delivering at all. His ERA is approaching a 7. He's got a 1.53 whip. Very good strikeout pitcher, but consistently leaving balls over the heart of the plate, and that results in hits. And I think we see that from Bobby Witt tonight.
All right, Eric, who's giving you a leg up in your DFS lineup?
So I already talked about that Red Sox-Braves game and how I want to pick on Jared Schuster, and I'm going to pick on Jared Schuster. I think the most direct play here would be Justin Turner and other Red Sox righties. Justin Turner at just 3,400, very nicely priced against a pitcher who struggled as much as Schuster has. But the question is, do we extend that stack, include the Red Sox lefties as well? On a slate that's this small, you sometimes have to do things that you wouldn't normally do in DFS, like go with some lefty-on-lefty matchups. Masataka Yoshida, for example, is at 5,300, which is quite expensive for a lefty-on-lefty matchup. But how many times does Schuster even face Yoshida? Does he stick around in the game maybe for a second at bat? I don't think it's going to be much more than that. And Yoshida has been worse against lefties, like you'd expect, but he's still been quite good against them. 132 WRC plus compared to 152 against righties. With the kind of hot streak he's on, I think you might be able to justify going with him, maybe another lefty or two, if you think the Red Sox can knock Jared Schuster out early.
Gentlemen, fantastic job. We appreciate the help. We need to take a break because Mike Golick Jr. is standing by. Mike Golick Jr. of the Gojo Show, obviously, will make his weekly visit over here, Jay, to the Sweat. We'll talk about the Kansas City Chiefs dynamic duo. We'll talk Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Can their football chemistry translate to the golf course? ? We'll get Mike's take coming up.
All right, so you can consume the Gojo Show every weekday. Grab the show wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, etc. Also, you can grab him right here, right now, Gojo is here. Thank you for joining
Thank
us
you.
on Emerson's birthday.
Whoa!
Man, what an exciting time. Happy birthday to Emerson. And what a
Yes.
great way to celebrate, to find out that your beloved Jacksonville Jaguars get to play not one but two games across the pond. I feel like as a birthday present, DraftKings should send you all expenses paid to both games in London. That seems like what I would want.
Oh,
We will
good
send this
idea.
clip.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
We'll send this clip to our good friend Stacy. I'm sure she will sign off on that.
Absolutely.
You know, I brought that up to my wife this morning. She's from Buffalo, big Bills fan. That will be the second game on October 8th that the Jags are playing in London.
Yeah.
And I said, and we're planning a trip to Europe. I said, hey, let's do London right before like Paris. And maybe we'll just kind of walk by this stadium where the Bills and Jags are playing, and we'll go inside and we'll enjoy some fish and chips, some tea, and some strumpets, you know? And she shot that down. She said no, she will not do it.
See,
Yeah.
when people think romance, they think Paris.
Yep.
I actually think Jacksonville in London. Because you got to think, that's been a love affair now. Think about how long Jacksonville and London have been in their relationship.
Yeah.
Where before, you guys were sent over there, no offense, Emerson, as an afterthought. It was, we've got to send somebody there to tie the Cincinnati Bengals in god-awful games. Now, they're a value add. You've got a young quarterback. There's everything on the up and up. You're getting Calvin Ridley back this year. This is an exciting team that now London, who has been wearing these jerseys, not really knowing what's going on for almost what feels like a decade, they now get to actually support a team that Roger Goodell clearly wants to send there full time.
Yep. And
Also, by the way, I believe Emerson meant to say crumpets. You meant to say you would go into the stadium and enjoy some crumpets.
yeah, anywho, little known fact, British national anthem changed to God Save the King for Trevor Lawrence.
No, that's
See,
incorrect.
not enough people talking about that.
No, they're not. But there are some people talking about the latest edition of the match,
Yeah.
Mike. So this was announced right after you got off air with us last week. So we've got Travis Kelce, we've got Patrick Mahomes taking on Klay Thompson and also Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a scratch golfer. Like, I think the most pressure is going to be on him. What do we know about everyone else's golf games here, Mike?
We know Patrick Mahomes likes to crush beers. Him and Josh Allen last year playing against the old guard quarterbacks was a ton of fun. He's, I would imagine, the better golfer, because quarterbacks usually are, than his counterpart in Travis Kelce. Those are the wild cards, but hear me out on this. I'm actually very excited for both Travis Kelce and Klay Thompson, because we've seen both of them frosty on the mic. When Klay Thompson was out for those couple years with injury and he would go on like NBC Sports Bay Area during games, he would routinely say a bunch of stuff slandering other players on other teams that would almost get him in trouble. Travis Kelce, I mean, hell, we just saw him spike a fake Lombardi trophy at Kelce Jam. So both of those guys, I think, fit what this is supposed to be. My only other wish list item is that as we have watched late stage career and now retirement JJ Watt, he's got to be back in the booth with Charles Barkley. I loved that pairing last year, and I think it would really sing with this all non-golfer group.
I hope the trash talk is good, because that to me is what carries these events, and really what happens between the shots, because there's so much dead air in golf, Mike.
Travis Kelce, he's going to be hysterical.
And when you get Travis, you also get Jason, because at this point now they're a content team, so they're not going to go anywhere without the other. Good point. And so maybe Jason Kelce is like the cart girl would be.
Oh my God.
That is hot.
Yeah, that's got to happen. That's got to happen. Well, let's talk a little bit about basketball here. So we saw Game 5, Suns Nuggets last night.
Nuggets taking the lead in that series.
And the league did announce on Monday, right, that Nikola Jokic was fined $25,000 for his slight push of Suns owner Matt Ishbia in Game 4.
Flop.
He was trying to retrieve the ball. He thought it was just a fan. He didn't know that it was the owner, obviously. Jokic obviously played last night. What was your reaction to that whole scene? There's been a lot of talk about the epic flop of Matt Ishbia.
Yeah, somewhere Tom Izzo beaming with pride as the former Michigan State Spartan puts on display. I'm sure what he learned under Tom's tutelage, it was the right move to just fine and not suspend him. And for so many people that wanted to compare this to what happened with Draymond Green in the series against the Kings, I think the major difference is that it did involve not a fan even, but an owner. And that dynamic is very different. you don't want someone coming in the way Matt Ishbia did, infiltrating the court, holding onto the ball, being involved in a way that he should not be as a watcher and a bystander at this game, and having that be the reason that now one of the star players on the series, especially on the other team, would be missing a game. I thought it was smart that Ishbia came out right away and said, I don't think that he should be suspended for this. I don't want to see him suspended for us. Because as the new guy in the ownership club, the last thing you want to do is be the dude that comes in making waves as the bad guy and getting an actual player suspended from a very important playoff series. And so it kept Joker in there. We saw the other night Denver able to rout Phoenix and their home court. No one's been able to win a road game this series, but guys, I think this is even bigger than that. I think when you look at what the Denver Nuggets represent, what a team like the Philadelphia 76ers represent in this current NBA playoff environment, it's the regular season's worth kind of at stake, right? They're the two teams that have been consistently at the top of the heap during the regular season. They're the two teams that actually played meaningful, competent basketball during that time. While you've got the Miami Heat, who famously have Jimmy Butler, who just turns it on for the postseason. You've got the Los Angeles Lakers, who hockey line changed their lineup at the trade deadline and now find themselves on the cusp of Western Conference Finals appearance, totally devaluing the regular season in a way we know has been one of the big issues the NBA's had to grapple with. And so a team like the Denver Nuggets, who's been the number one team in the Western Conference, basically wire to wire this year, I think them having an opportunity to go get back to another Western Conference final for Jokic is a really important thing for the league that I'm sure Adam Silver, deep down in place he didn't like to talk about at parties, would like to see.
Yeah, and Mike, you mentioned Jimmy Butler and the Heat. They can close out the Knicks tonight. We're talking the 8-seed Heat could close out that series against New York tonight. You also have the Lakers, who could finish off the defending champion Warriors. Is there another storyline that is at the forefront of your mind right now in the NBA?
Yeah, I think it's just that, right? We went from now in the fourth iteration of having the play-in tournament that Adam Silver instituted. We hadn't had a play-in team win a first-round series until this year, and now we could potentially watch both of them win. And remember, these are the two teams from the bubble finals, the bubble championship the Lakers won, that everybody wanted to devalue for a bunch of reasons, both coming back and in Jimmy Butler and the Heat's case, doing it largely with the same core, but then with the Lakers and LeBron, him and Anthony Davis are basically the only real holdovers from that core. They found a way, and Rob Pelinka deserves a ton of credit for redoing and remaking that roster, but they do both represent an interesting way that the league has gone right now, which is using the regular season as a glorified warm-up, hitting the trade deadline and really trying to decide what you need, what you're going to retool, and then just making sure you're within shouting distance for a postseason that feels very chaotic right now because we don't have one clearly dominant team because injury and bad play undid teams like the Bucks and got them out early. And this is maybe emblematic of what we can expect more and more in the NBA playoffs in the way that people treat the regular season right now.
I mean, no one is loving this Heat run more than our friends with the Levitard show right now, dude. Like every week, their Twitter account is must-see content.
Going absolutely wild. Let's transition to the NFL a little bit here. So Jim Irsay with a cryptic tweet.
Late night tweets with Jim Irsay.
Yeah, who's tweeting out like, teams better not be trying to contact Andrew Luck here. Now we know it's because the Commanders reportedly reached out to Luck to like gauge his interest, see if maybe he'd be willing to play football again. His contract still belongs to the Colts, but is Indy just like gunning for a bonus draft pick here, or do you think they actually have the right to be upset about this?
I think we need to separate Indy from Jim Irsay.
Yes.
First off, the notion that Andrew Luck would want to come back at all and play football.
No way.
Whoever read the Seth Wickersham piece with Andrew Luck this last fall and thought, that sounds like a guy that's itching to play more football, I'll have what you're having because I just don't see it, let alone for a team in Washington that is finally coming out of the darkest chapter in that franchise's history, but has lived in disarray. Is not a franchise I would like to make my reentry to sports. And if I'm Andrew Luck, setting all of that aside, this is just Jim Irsay heard something, so Jim Irsay tweets something. That's how that man operates. I am thankful for it. He is so giving of content from someone with that much power inside NFL circles. And he did help he is fresh off, by the way, helping us get Dan Snyder out the paint. So lest we not forget, he's got free reign on Twitter as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, he wants compensation. He wants to make sure everybody knows that Andrew Luck is still theirs, even if Andrew Luck technically belongs to no one. And I just appreciate him for constantly shooting from the hip. He hasn't done anything super problematic lately, and so we can kind of roll through with that, but it's likely only a matter of time.
And you got to love Dan Snyder. Like, just, possibly tampering one final time. Some would call it a parting gift, Mike.
I guess that's the thing is, like,
gift,
on the laundry list of things Dan Snyder's done too, tampering with a retired player hardly registers on the Richter scale. This man has actually done and been a part of some true atrocities and terrible things. And so him calling Andrew Luck, we're like, oh, God, like, we're really supposed to care?
Yeah, we're like, how? That's nothing. Oh, thank God. He just called Andrew Luck. Phew.
Praise
Phew.
Jesus.
Your Gojo Rose of the Week always registers on the Richter scale for us. Man, where's Brandon when you really need him?
Yeah.
Who gets your rose this week, dude?
So I don't know if we've gotten this far in our relationship yet, guys,
Yes,
but
we have.
college
We have.
lacrosse is really my thing. And we just got the tournament field announced for the men's and women's tournaments this last season. Final four for the men's sides in Philadelphia. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish are currently sitting at the number 3 seed, getting ready to host Utah this weekend. Very excited about all of that. And you'll hear me barfing about lacrosse plenty on the podcast in the coming weeks. But my rose here is going to actually go to now retired Denver and Princeton coach Bill Tierney, who missed out on the tournament field this year with that Denver team and is calling it a quits after 42 seasons at the helm in college lacrosse. He owns the record 7 national championships, including 1 out in Denver when he's with the Pios there for 15 seasons. An all-time legend in the sport, an all-time great guy, and someone who I hope gets all of his just due as a Hall of Famer in this sport for what he has done for so long in the sport of college lacrosse.
Okay, you do know you're talking to a former D1 lacrosse player for Boston College right here. The only woman in the women's program history, Boston College, to record a red card.
No,
to get
you
booted
get it wrong
out of
every
the game.
time.
I
You
do.
get it wrong every time.
What?
A straight red.
A straight
and that
red.
was at the time.
That was
I'm
at
sure
the
it's
time of that
happened.
mistake that you made.
It wasn't a mistake. I did it.
I
on
thought your
purpose.
rose would definitely go to that dog who won the Westminster Dog Show last night.
I've never heard of that breed.
What kind of breed is it? It's what's the name? The name's Buddy Holly.
Yeah, the name's Buddy Holly, but the breed was kind of crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. All right.
Anyhow.
All right. Anywho, thank
Yeah.
you, Gojo. We will.
What kind of
talk to you
dog
later.
is this?
I don't
Okay,
know. We'll come
Mike,
back with
love
that.
you, dude.
Yeah. All right.
Love you guys. Happy
love you.
birthday, Emerson.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro. I'll text
Jesse,
you.
I'm sorry for not acknowledging your contribution to college lacrosse culture.
It's
Big
okay.
shout out to Boston College and the women's program there. You guys are
Yeah.
Go Eagles, ACC champs for the first time ever.
Hell yeah,
Love
brother.
that for them. All right, let's talk NBA. So, Lakers 1 win away from reaching the Western Conference Finals thanks to an epic performance from Lonnie Walker.
Oh,
Yes,
wait,
that
you mean
is
LeBron
correct.
James? No.
Yeah, no, Lonnie Walker. Yeah, we're going to
Wow.
talk Lakers Warriors Game 5 and the Celtics' embarrassing collapse last night. Coming up next.
we will return our attention now to the NBA, where tonight we have a couple game fives. We talked about it with Mike Gold Jr. Just a few moments ago. So Heat trying to end the next season. Lakers are trying to do the same against the Warriors. Before we dive into some of those odds for tonight's contest, Chinmay Vaidya is here. He's on the horn. And Jeff Pratt, let's bring him in.
He's in studio.
He's quiet.
Physically present.
Very quiet, very emotional.
Very deflated.
A Celtics stan, as we have mentioned multiple times here on the show, he doesn't hide it either.
Yeah.
But Jeff, you have something to say about the Celtics, don't you? Because there are many ways to describe what we saw from the Celtics in Game 5 last night, and none of them are pleasant.
Yeah, it's just really disappointing, to be honest
You
with you.
looked
I was
so
defeated.
serious.
I-
You looked
talking,
defeated
like
and tired.
whispering.
I'm
Yeah.
quite deflated, to be honest. I was angry after Game 4, but after Game 5, I'm just disappointed because we have consistently seen this team throughout the entirety of this season, and not just this season, but also last season, when they have an opportunity to take advantage of a favorable situation. I understand, yes, you're coming off a Game 4 loss where you should have had it. You should have been up 3-1 regardless, but now you're in a position where you can force Philly's hand, put a lot of pressure on them going into Game 6 in their home building, and you just come out and it looks like no one wants to play basketball. I understand there's a lot of hate going on towards Joe Mazzulla. Specifically, he has not been great. I think he's been outcoached consistently throughout the postseason and probably the second half of the regular season in general. But there's nothing a coach can do when your guys just show up and don't want to play basketball. And not only don't want to play basketball, but they don't show any effort regardless. If you're not hitting your shots, that's fine. Al Horford went 0 for 7 from 3 yesterday.
Oh, man, he killed him. I think it was 0
Yeah.
for 6 in the first half, too.
It was horrible. But not only was he horrible on the offensive end, he put up pretty much no resistance defensively against Joel Embiid. People are saying, hey, Embiid had it going, Harden had it going, Tyrese Maxey had it going. A lot of the time, these guys were getting wide open shots. I don't know what the defensive game plan was, but whatever it was, it didn't work. And the guys were not committed to executing it. We saw Jason Tatum after the game seem exasperated. We saw Jaylen Brown seem defeated. We saw Al Horford seem defeated. Joe Mazzulla didn't seem like he had an answer. So all of that said, with the Celtics, if they come out in Game 6 tomorrow night and play their brand of basketball, play up to their potential, they will win this game. No offense to Philly, but these teams are not the same in terms of talent. Boston is the more talented team, and I think even Sixers fans would acknowledge that. So in all 3 games they've lost in this series, it's because they beat themselves in a variety of ways. So if the Celtics come out, they bring the effort, they execute offensively, and they have a better defensive game plan, they will win this game. But if that doesn't happen, they will lose, and Philly will have earned it.
All right, looking at tonight, Heat looking to finish off the Knicks in Game 5 in New York. Knicks are 4-point favorites in this one. Do you think they can push this to a 6th game, Chinmay, or does Miami have all the momentum here? I mean, Knicks 3-1 at home so far in the postseason. They've got their backs against the wall. They should come out on top here?
In theory, they should. In theory, this should be a New York win at home in Game 5 with their backs against the wall. But as Jeff mentioned with the Celtics, home court doesn't really mean much so far in this series, especially when Miami is the other team involved. The Heat have covered in 7 straight games in the playoffs. They've only lost 1 playoff game when Jimmy Butler has taken the floor. The loss in Game 2 of this series, he was out with that ankle injury. And the Knicks in general weren't a great home team this season. They were slightly above 500. I think 4 or 5 games above 500 during the regular season. They're about, I think, 20 and 22 ATS at home this year. So I could see the Knicks winning a close game, but I would lean Heat plus 3.5. I would take the points with Miami, maybe even sprinkle a little bit on Miami money line because the Knicks have not been that great at home, and the Heat have just been lights out in the postseason.
All right, Jeff, what do you think?
I would agree with Chinmay. I think that a lot of people are saying, hey, the Knicks are going to win this game because they're the more desperate team. But they were the more desperate team in Game 4. At least they should have been, but it didn't look like that was the case. It seemed like a couple of calls didn't go their way, and instead of coming together as a team, they just let it derail their game entirely. Their offense wasn't fluid. The shots weren't falling. But the biggest thing is they had no effort whatsoever, just like I talked about with the Celtics last night. This is a team that dominated Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA in the first round of the playoffs. And now they're getting out-rebounded by a much smaller Miami Heat team. You know, Bam Adebayo does some work on the glass. He's pretty good. But Kyle Lowry was grabbing clutch offensive rebounds. It seems like no matter what they did, they could not get one down the stretch. New York. And Miami's been here before. They understand how important it is to take advantage of deflated teams. We saw them do that with with Milwaukee in the first round. So while the logic points towards the Knicks taking this game, I would also lean towards the Heat to cover and even to win this game outright.
All right, Jeff, big question with the Lakers is, does Lonnie Walker have enough support to help LA finish off the Warriors tonight? We got Game 5 in San Fran. Warriors 7-point favorites now on the DraftKings Sportsbook. How much do you like Golden State's chances of punching back here? Because you have Draymond Green dropping bold warnings for LeBron James and the Lakers ahead of this contest.
So I don't like Draymond doing that, because how many times are teams going to come at LeBron James in this postseason?
I
and
know,
see
dude, it doesn't
backfire?
work out for them.
It's not a good strategy. I will say, if Golden State doesn't win this game, I will be legitimately floored. Nothing against the Lakers. They've been fantastic in this series. I expect them to close it out in Game 6 in LA. But this Warriors team has way too much playoff experience and way too much pride in general to go out like this in front of their home crowd. I also think it's fair to assume that LA could get a little complacent in this one, knowing they've put themselves in a great spot to close this series out at home. You know, I don't want to say this is a scheduled loss for the Lakers, but if the Warriors come out hot, maybe jump out to a 15-point lead late in the second quarter, early in the third, I think there's a good chance we don't see a full workload for LeBron James or Anthony Davis, just to ensure that they are prepared for the next one. So I like the Warriors to win and cover, and I like unders for those two Lakers superstars.
All right, Chinmay, but LA has dominated this series. You're catching nearly 4 buckets here. Kind of feels like a steal.
I think the Lakers to cover is actually the play because, you know, Jeff talked about the playoff experience with the Warriors, and I feel the same way. There's a little bit of like stubbornness with this Warriors group. You just can't rationalize them losing these types of games. But we saw also in Game 6 in the first round against the Kings, where they should have easily won that game at home and just came out completely flat. And even in the last game, you know, I'll chalk that up to kind of an out-of-body experience. The Warriors became the Houston Rockets for 10 minutes, and Lonnie Walker became Michael Jordan. So that's something that's probably not going to happen again. There are legitimate questions about this Warriors team. Is Draymond Green going to be back next year? Is Klay Thompson going to be back next year? Is Jordan Poole not playing up to his contract? I think that one is starting to become more clear than some of the other questions. But this could legitimately be the last home game for this Warriors core of Draymond, Steph, and Klay. They have a luxury tax bill that's going to approach $400+ million, and I don't know if the Warriors are going to pay that. So I think the Warriors put up a nice show for their home crowd, and I can't take them to lose this game, but I would take the Lakers to cover. Just this line is a little too much given the habits that this Warriors team has built over this season. They've been loose, lazy, turning the ball over, and they haven't been that same group that we've come to kind of think about in our minds with this dynasty. So while I agree with Jeff that I don't see them losing this game, I do think it's much closer than many people expect, and I would take the Lakers to cover.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. From basketball playoffs to hockey playoffs, that's where we're headed next.
Ooh.
Everybody, welcome back to The Sweat. Paul Bruno is here to talk about the NHL playoffs, okay? We got 2 second-round Game 4 matchups, but Paul, obviously we got to start with your Leafs, all right? They have their backs against the wall, you could say, down 0-3, so not a good look.
No.
On the road, also not great.
But they're favorites?
They are minus 115 road money line favorites, question mark?
Yeah.
Perhaps because the desperation is really just leaking in.
I don't know. Are you starting a goalie between the pipes? Or yes, you're starting a goalie between the pipes. How about a rookie between the pipes, though, Paul?
What's going on?
Well, I'm going to take it from the Panthers angle, guys, and then we'll get back to the Leafs in a sec. The Panthers, we've seen them on an impressive 6-game streak, as impressive as I've seen them play since last year. And you got to boil it down to the fact that they were all narrow wins as well. That's a very unusual high wire act. It speaks to their margin of error, which is very narrow in my mind, and it's based primarily on the outstanding play of Sergei Bobrovsky. And if AJ was here, he would tell you that we haven't talked about a hot AJ Bobrovsky in the 8 years that we've been doing our podcast together. So if I'm being honest, I don't expect that streak to continue very long. And so all of these factors tell me that the Leafs have no better opportunity than to be poised to take advantage of any slight regression in the Panthers' performance than starting tonight with a solid road effort.
All right, Paul, we got Vegas and Edmonton. That's kind of been back and forth all series long. Vegas holding a 2-1 edge. Game 3 was like super weird because both starting goalies were replaced, one because of injury. Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid were both held pointless. So we have the Oilers, relatively big favorites on the money line on the DK Sportsbook, minus 180. What are your expectations tonight? Will this series be tied following this evening?
Well, it better be. I see it as a must-win for the Edmonton squad. In the bigger picture, we've seen the Oilers' weakness exposed once again. They have simply not been able to get top-tier goaltending, and I still question their defensive structure overall. So those are 2 huge issues, and until they overcome them, I don't see them winning this series. So they better win tonight. On the other side, I view the Knights as a team that does have that structure, and they have a very deep lineup. Their big issue is in goal too, though, so there's a couple of question marks in attending the Twine this evening. Can they get adequate play from Aiden Hill, or will we see Jonathan Quick resurface in this series? I'm not really sure, and the outcome in the nets is going to hold the key to this series for me.
All right, let's wrap this up with your favorite DFS play for one of tonight's 2 showdown contests. What do we think here? Who's going to make the most sense in one of your lineups?
Well, you got to go big on a short slate like this. And people have been talking about Leon Draisaitl throughout the playoffs, but not so much Connor McDavid, even though he's scoring regularly too. I think he has been overshadowed by the German sensation. And I think tonight in this critical Game 4, he's the guy that I'm looking at to come up large for that $9,700 price tag that they each have. The Knights' suspect goaltending situation certainly factors into my call here too. If I'm looking at the other game, Leafs and Florida, my goodness, you got to see the beating that Mitch Marner is taking in the media over here. It's relentless. And he's one of the big boys that hasn't even scored a goal in this series, and he's getting roasted locally. It might be the last chance to make a statement for him, and I think he's going to come up big and answer the bell. I think they all will, in fact. But Marner's the guy the straw that stirs the drink, if I can borrow an old reference. No power plays last game for Toronto. That was another issue that I was surprised by. But I think that all changes tonight as number 16 shows up in a dominant way. He only costs $6,500. So maybe you can get both him and McDavid into your lineups tonight.
All right, Paul, thanks for the help, man. We appreciate it. We got one final break to go, one final block to go. We are talking AT&T Byron Nelson. Best bets and DFS plays after this. Beautiful course.
All right, Jeff Ulrich is here. RotoWire senior golf writer Len Hochberg and the Action Network's Jason Sobel are here as well, talking about the AT&T Byron Nelson. So let's start on the betting side of things here. Scotty Scheffler, top of the board, plus 360, drops way down to 1,200 for Tyrrell Hatton. Any value in going with Scheffler this week, Jeff, as such a heavy favorite?
Not in this field, not on this course. I mean, well, the field's fine, actually. It's more just the course and the setup. This is going to be an absolute shootout. It's going to be a putt fest, and there's thunderstorms and stoppages perhaps coming in. I also don't have as much confidence in Scheffler as I did, say, Rahm a couple weeks ago in Mexico. I think what we saw from Rahm winning the Masters, being in such top form, Scheffler's taken some time off. I just don't feel as good. I mean, if I was going with someone at the top of the board, I would definitely be looking down, starting with Tyrrell Hatton or Tom Kim there. Going to that second-tier player with far, far better odds, talking about 4 times X than Scheffler.
All right, Len, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm along those lines with Jeff. I mean, Scheffler, of course, the overwhelming favorite, but I might start somewhere around 20 to 1 with Hideki Matsuyama back in action this week, and also Matt Kuchar at 25 to 1. Matt Kuchar has not been getting the Fountain of Youth headlines that Jason Day and Ricky Fowler have gotten this year, but he is ranked higher than Ricky Fowler. He's having a terrific year and in mid-40s almost, no sign of the yips or anything. And KH Lee, 25 to 1, he might be able to win this tournament. I think he's done it before.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think? What's the play here?
Oh, come on, Jesse. You think I'm going to disagree with my guys here? No, of course.
No.
We're fading Scheffler this week. That's a ridiculous number. I get he's number 2 in the world. I get that he's really talented, but no, I want no part of him at this number. I want no part of him the week before a major championship when he's really trying to leave some gas in the tank. And I want no part of him at a birdie fest like we're going to have this week. 25 under 2 years ago, 26 under last year was the winner. I know they're playing a par 71 this year, so it'll be 4 shots closer in relation to par. It's still going to be a birdie fest. Scotty Scheffler, 99th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained putting this year, dead average. You've got to have a guy that's going to make putts this week. I don't have the confidence he's going to be that guy.
And Jason, he's head and shoulders the most expensive dude when we look on the DFS side of things. 11-9, Hatton 10-1. Who's someone who needs to be in your DFS lineups this week?
Yeah, so I don't mind Jason Day. I don't like the number in the betting markets, but if you'd like to have an investment on Jason Day, I think that he's a little more palatable on DFS, and you can get him in some lineups. And there are plenty of guys lower price that we should like this week. So I don't mind that. I would also go to a guy who's my favorite outright, where I'll start the card for my betting this week, which is Seamus Power, who has 2 top 20s the last 2 years at TPC Craig Ranch, 18th last week at Quail Hollow, not afraid to go low in a birdie fest like we'll have this week.
Len, I see you nodding your head in agreement there.
Yeah, I think when looking down ballot, off the top guys this week, Seamus Power is one of them. Matt Kuchar, who I just mentioned, he's 9,000. Whenever you ask me this type of question, it's who can I get into every lineup? Matt Kuchar at 9,000 might be as high as I'd go. Could turn into a putting contest, as Jason mentioned. Taylor Montgomery, one of the best putters at 8,700. Justin Suss, $7,600, makes the cut every week, and he could do a lot more this week. And Dylan Wu, out of nowhere. I know Andrew Novak not going to be thrilled with this, but it's 7,400. Dylan Wu, top 25 in 3 of his last 4 starts.
All right, Jeff, quickly, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom Kim is absolutely fine to go to this week. The ball striking was really good for him last week. I mean, what do we just need? We need a reversion to the mean with his putter. His 2 wins have come and complete birdie fest. That's what we're going to get. This is his first time around the PGA Tour. This is an easier course. I think Tom Kim will be just fine this week.
All right, super quick, guys. We're running out of time. Putting you on the spot. Who is winning the Byron Nelson this week? Len, who is it?
The guy who wins every year, KH
Woo!
Lee. I mean, he's a far better
three-peat.
player now than he won when he won the first 2 times. He's good now.
All right,
at
Jeff,
that.
who is it?
Christian Bezuidenhout.
Oh, of
Oh, my
course.
God.
Death
All right,
taxes and you
Jason.
betting South Africans.
I told you it's Seamus Power. Back him up on the card, though. Outrights on Michael Kim, Eric Cole, Jimmy Walker, Justin Suh.
Love the sign. It is Emerson's birthday.
Wow,
Happy birthday, Emerson.
Jeff, you didn't forget.
All right, that's a show. You'll be on the slate tonight. That starts at 5.
I will. I don't take my birthday off.
We'll
I'm
be
not a
back tomorrow
fraud.
at 11 a.m. See you then. Happy birthday.